Merhabalar sevgili Diren Sanat takipçileri. Bugün Kadıköy Belediyesi Süreyya Operası'ndayız. Biliyorsunuz Kadıköy Operası'nda bu yıl Virtüözlerin Müziği adlı bir konser serisi başladı. Bugün de bu serinin kapanış konserini alacağız ve bu kapanış konserinde dünyaca tanınmış piyanist Anna Fedorova ve kontrbasçı Amerikalı aynı zamanda eşi oluyor Nikoılas ile birlikteyiz ve onların albümlerinin bir dinletisini alacağız. Öncelikle hoş geldiniz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Röportaja hemen şununla başlamak istiyorum. Sizin Oyster Duo denilen bir hikayeniz var. Bize biraz bunu açıklar mısınız? Bir de bu konser için albümünüzden seçtiğiniz içerik hakkında bilgi almak istiyoruz.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we met with Nikki in Brazil. This is where everything started. We were both at the festival, beautiful spot, João Pessoa in Brazil. And Nicky, he arrived a day later to the festival. I was already there, and his baggage got lost on the way. And the flight was delayed. So I remember this picture of him walking with nothing but the bow on the horizon at 1 o'clock in the morning with a lonely bow. And that's how we met. And then he sat next to me, and it was the last round in the bar. And I just ordered the last caipirinha available on that evening, and they freshly brought the caipirinha, and he sat next to me, and I felt so sorry for his situation, and I gave him my caipirinha. And then, of course, I also heard him play, and that's when I guess I started falling in love with him, because I never heard anybody perform on double bass the way Nicky did. And also, we believe that through music you can actually feel the person's heart and what kind of person it is. So it comes through the music. And yeah, that's where the sparks started flying in Brazil. And then in a couple of weeks after that, I was visiting the Netherlands. I had a concert tour in the Netherlands where Nicky already lived at that time. He was playing in Konseri orchestra. And there we very often went to the northern market, where the oysters were served.
Ve müzik birleştirir durumu oluyor o zaman.
Yes, so you continue now.
Yes, and I lived quite close to this northern market, and it was my favorite thing to do to go on Saturday mornings and have oysters there, because there's a table where they would serve Dutch oysters, but also French and Japanese, and you could have a degustation of different oysters. And Anna, from the time she was 16 until then, had never really explored Amsterdam before. So I was showing her the good things about Amsterdam, and that's when we were talking about, well, when we play together, maybe we should call ourselves something. And at that moment, we were sitting there with oysters in our hands, and we cheers, and said, we'll be the oyster duo.
o şekilde çıkmış oldu. Peki kontrbasçısınız ve piyanistsiniz, hem evlisiniz hem birlikte konser veriyorsunuz. Bunun riskleri olmuyor mu? Mesela piyanistler daha mı çok ilgi çekiyor? Hem kadın hem iyi bir piyanist. Kontrbas arasında dengeyi nasıl sağlıyorsunuz?
Even with all the success that we've had, and especially Anna's in the public view, she's still so down to earth and such a lovely person that it never goes to her head that she becomes some kind of diva in a way. So it's just completely And I think truly great musicians are also not, they don't feel like they have something to prove, like they are not confident in their musical abilities, that they have to put something fake on the table. But in fact, with Anna, it's never like this, and we always have really easy communication, and no problem.
Yes, well, I must say that once we started playing together with Nicky, I learned to play very softly, because double bass is an amazing instrument. It has very beautiful, rich, warm tone, but it's not as projecting as violin or cello, for instance. And the pianist always needs to be very sensitive and listening very well, the balance. And it's absolutely equal chamber music making, but the volume, and piano is a huge instrument and can become very powerful very quickly. You have to be really very careful about that. So this is something I learned once we started playing together. And but otherwise also it's for me a great joy always to play with Niki, because he's such a fantastic musician and we constantly add to each other's interpretation, learn from each other, inspire each other. And that's what is the most important in music making and chamber music making.
Ne güzel. Gelelim bu konserde seçmiş olduğunuz parçalar Stolen Pearls albümünden seçmeler. Biraz bu albümünüzden bahseder misiniz? Önceliğiniz neler oldu bu albümün müziklerini seçerken?
Yeah, so the program for the Stolen Pearls was many years in the making. And it's a result of a long kind of search and discovery of repertoire, which we think really suits the instrument, double bass, and some pieces also which are maybe not so often played in general, like the Ginastera, which we are playing tonight, 5 popular songs, is not so popular. I don't know, it's a fantastic piece, but you don't see it on programs so much, and I had a hard time even finding the sheet music. And it works fantastically on the instrument, so we thought what's better than to bring a piece like this back into the light and in another context with double bass and piano. Then we don't also compete with how people think it's supposed to sound on the original instrument. And the other pieces on the program we think are enhanced by the sound of the double bass, which is rich and deep, which suits very well for the Arpeggione Sonata, for instance. Which is lower in timbre than the original instrument, the arpeggione, which is essentially a bowed guitar, so a bit closer to the cello voice. But the character of the piece, somber, kind of A minor world, suits this dark sound very well.
Evet, şimdi tabii ki bu bir aynı zamanda Ukrayna'ya yardım konseri ve siz Ukrayna Savaşı başladıktan sonra en fazla konseri veren sanatçılar arasındasınız. Yaklaşık 30 konser verdiniz. Bu konuda sizin biraz neler hissediyorsunuz? Bu süreç sizi nasıl etkiledi? Bununla ilgili neler paylaşmak istersiniz?
Yes, of course. Since 2.5 months, our lives as we knew them, they're completely turned upside down. And it was a big shock that the war of such a scale could unfold in Ukraine, and that just over one night the life of all the Ukrainian people was basically stopped or destroyed or turned an absolutely different way. We were in the Netherlands, and I was very happy to bring my parents to the Netherlands before the war started. The situation was getting more and more tense, and at some point I just panicked and I got ticket for them, and they arrived a week before the war actually started. But then seeing all of these horrors and the bombing, being constantly in touch with friends, the students of my parents, the family members, it was absolutely very emotional, heartbreaking, very terrifying. Basically, all the thoughts were only about this, and still are mostly only about this. So basically, after a few days since the war started, we couldn't sit still, and we decided we really need to do something and help in any way we can as musicians. And for us, the way to help was to start playing and organizing benefit concerts to help raise funds, to help also to raise awareness, the unity, the solidarity of people. And that's what we started doing, and until now I think we performed at over 30 benefit concerts, many in the Netherlands, but also in Romania, in Poland, in Spain, yesterday was a Turkey concert for Ukraine. And just with the first concerts which we initiated, which were in The Hague and in Amsterdam Concertgebouw, just one concert in Konseri raised over 100,000 euros and was sold out in 30 hours, and people were paying the higher price to support Ukraine, and it was really emotional and very special, this atmosphere in the hall. And then in The Hague, also the concert happened on the same day. It was over 50,000 which were raised, and I think until now we raised over 500,000, maybe 600,000 euro over different concerts and charities we were performing at. And in the summer, from the end of July until end of August, I will be participating in one very big project in support of Ukraine. It's the project initiated by Metropolitan Opera and the Polish Opera and Polish Ministry of Culture. They created a Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra, which consists from Ukrainian musicians, most of them the ones who live in Ukraine and are playing, the permanent members of Ukrainian top orchestras. And we're going to have 12 concerts, 9 in Europe and 3 in the United States, at all the main festivals and main concert halls, where I will be playing Chopin's Second Piano Concerto as a soloist, and there will be also Lyudmila Monastyrska, it's a Ukrainian soprano, performing also as a soloist.
Şimdi tabii ki şöyle bir durum da var. Yani savaş siyasilerin aldığı bir karar ve ezilen haklar oluyor. Ve siz de ister istemez ailenize, tanıdıklarınıza, ülkenize, birlikte yaşadığınız o coğrafyadaki insanlara destek olmak istiyorsunuz ve bu konser, yardım konserleri için canla başla çalışıyorsunuz. Peki şimdi bir tarafa yardım ederken bir tarafı da karşınıza almış oluyorsunuz. Mesela dünyayı dolaştığınız zaman, bu turnede dolaştığınız zaman bu alanda sizi böyle hayati riske atabilecek, size karşı olumsuz tepkide bulunacak bir durumla karşılaşıyor musunuz? Hani Ukrayna'nın karşısında olup da Rus sanatçılar var, ne bileyim konserlerinize bir ambargoda uygulandı mı hiç? Böyle bir zorlukla da, kısıtlamayla da karşılaştınız mı?
I haven't seen it so far. All I see is protests which are for Ukraine, and with many Ukrainian people, but also not only Ukrainian people, at least in countries that I was and in countries where I perform. That's what I see, and I hardly meet somebody who actually has opinion that the Russia is right in this war and what they are doing can be justified in any way. It cannot be justified. It's not about politics, it's just about rules of humanity and about what person can be doing or not doing to other people. And yeah, so I don't know how even somebody can be thinking that this war is justified or right. And at least among my friends, also Russian friends and Russian musicians, I don't have a single person who would be supporting Russian government's actions.
Peki bu süreç sizin sanatsal yanınızı nasıl etkiledi? İkiniz için de soruyorum. Üretkenliğinizi nasıl etkiledi? Yavaşlattı mı, hızlandırdı mı?
Practically, all of our activities suddenly were on steroids, trying to do something about the situation, doing a lot of benefit concerts. So of course we made ourselves very busy with that. But another thing I would like to mention is that at these concerts for Ukraine, there is always a kind of feeling in the hall which is really special and really united. And I think that's kind of the goal in a way that we try to achieve with a normal concert. But that when it becomes a normal everyday kind of experience, it doesn't always have that communal feeling. And that's something that I find very special as a musician, to be able to bring that to a big room of people. And it's almost a way that we want to be musicians in the first place. So it's a very strong privilege.
Well, yes, I agree with Nikki about this special feeling. That's something what was there at every single concert for Ukraine, and also every single concert was very full and in no time, because, well, people were coming not just to listen beautiful music, but also for the cause. and for support of people and support of Ukraine, showing their solidarity. And yeah, well, how it affected our musical life, it became, of course, absolutely incredibly busy, much busier than before, because we are part of our normal schedule, which we had. We now also put in every free moment we can, we put some either concert or certain appearance on a TV or interview, which we are getting lots of requests for that, about Ukraine, about situation, about what we are doing. So basically now there is not a single hour which is free. And I had some very unusual experiences, musical experiences during the last few weeks. For example, we performed together with Ukrainian singer Jamala, who won Eurovision in 2016. Her song, the Eurovision winning song, something in this kind of combination, and I never did as a classical musician, but that was also very special and very powerful, because it was part of the program where also she was given a big interview about Ukraine and her activity to support Ukraine. So yeah, the life is very full now, and we are trying to do all we can whenever we have a chance in support of Ukraine, but doing it through music makes our agenda absolutely booked.
Şimdi müzik evrensel bir sanat, savaş politik bir karar, siyasilerin aldığı bir karar ve bir klasik müzik konserinde işte her milletten, her ırktan, her cinsten, her cinsiyetten, her coğrafyadan insanlar bir arada toplanmış oluyor. Bu açıdan baktığınız zaman Rus halkıyla Ukrayna halkı zaman zaman aynı sınırda birbiriyle uzun bir zamanda birlikte yaşadılar. Sizin yine bakış açınıza, sanatçı bakış açınıza baktığımız zaman Ukrayna halkıyla Rus halkının birbiriyle ilişkisini bu süreç nasıl etkiledi? Bir de konserlerinizde böyle çok farklı, hem Rusya'dan hem Ukrayna halkının kaynaşmış görüntülerini gördünüz mü? Böyle bir tecrübeniz oldu mu?
Of course, music is uniting. Many of these benefit concerts for Ukraine we played alongside with Russian artists, because they are also standing for what is right, and they are also, no matter if they are Russian or not Russian, but they are supporting Ukraine in this situation, supporting Ukrainian people, because that's what any normal person would do. And yes, we have very close history with Russian. I mean, I myself, I'm half Russian. My father was born in Russia, grew up in Russia. My parents met in Moscow, studying in Moscow Conservatory. But for 30 years, more over 30 years now, Ukraine is an independent country, and other country cannot just come and say, you have to do like we say to another independent country, which can decide and do things with their own people the way they would like to do things. If they would like to go towards Europe and look towards Europe, they are allowed to do it. It's not something that Russia can just say no and they have to obey. So yes, of course, we have very close ties, and well, also with Russian music, for example, the Russian composers, there is discussion like if we're supposed to play them or not supposed to play them. I'm playing Russian music, I'm playing Rachmaninoff, I'm going to play Concerto by Rodion Shchedrin at Verbia Festival opening this July. And I think in general we need now to not to meet and greet people by their passport, but by what they're standing for, what their values are and what their actions are. And the same with composers. We don't have to play or not play the music because it's Russian music or Ukrainian music or some other country's music. We should play it because of who was the composer who composed this music, what is music speaking about, what is the content of the music.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bu güzel söyleşi için ve güzel çalışmalarınız için dilerim insanlık savaştan uzak, barış dolu, mutlu bir gelecekle birlikte yoluna devam eder. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Evet sevgili Diren Sanat takipçileri, bugün Kadıköy Süreyya Operası'nda bir söyleşimizi de daha geride bıraktık ve Bu söyleşimizin gerçekleşmesinde bize destek olan Kam Management Osman Enfeycizade'ye de çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bu söyleşide bize çeviri alanında destek oldu. Sizlere de çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bizleri takip etmeyi unutmayın. Hayata, sanatla direnin, Diren Sanat'ı takip etmeyi unutmayın diyoruz. Başka bir söyleşide görüşmek üzere. Hoşça kalın.